Good afternoon. I am Andrea Chisholm with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. A reminder as well that you can watch TVJ Live by downloading our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1 followed by the words Spot and Media. Police Commissioner George Coelho is assuring the public that no more than 2 zones of special operations will be declared at any given time. It's in response to concerns about the potential for widespread human rights abuse. Speaking at a Rotary Club meeting in Kingston yesterday, Mr. Coelho stated that with limited resources, it would be pointless to take on a large number of communities at once. The Commissioner expects the inside the zones to be labor-intensive in the initial phase.
The approach is take on 1 or 2, bring them to a stable state where the other social agency, because the truth be told is that one of the problems we have over time is that law enforcement will go in and stabilize, right? You hold, and then the bill phase is usually where we had some hiccup. But I'm confident this time around we'll see a different approach, and we expect it to be continued to its natural head.
In the meantime, the Commissioner says crucial issues regarding the zones of special operations have not yet been finalized.
The decision has not been taken as to where we're going to be having the first, nor the second, nor the third zones of operation is going to be taking place. But just to say to you that our efforts in Western Jamaica continues.
He declined to comment on specific measures to be taken in Denham Town, which has been plagued by gun violence in recent days. The newly implemented Zones of Special Operations law allows the security forces to establish their presence for extended periods of time. There will also be social intervention measures. And despite a cabinet decision to increase the allocation to the National Security Ministry, the Police Commissioner has suggested that more funds may be needed for zones of special operations. He was, however, unable to say how much the operations would cost. With Cabinet approving an additional $2.5 billion for the ministry, the Commissioner expressed gratitude for the additional resources and commented on its timeliness.
I can't speak to the exact figure right now, but you cannot appreciate that for us to operate the zones of special operations, it is going to require additional resources. And so it is timely that additional resources is made available for us to do a number of things.
Meanwhile, following yesterday's meeting of the National Security Council, Prime Minister Andrew Holness is to convene a meeting with permanent secretaries and heads of departments to discuss plans for zones of special operations. The aim is to ensure that key components of the operations and support systems for social intervention and development are in place. The NSC deliberated on presentations by Chief of Defense Staff Major General Rocky Meade and Police Commissioner George Coelho. The Black River Police carried out a major police operation this morning in the parish. The police conducted searches and made checks on vehicles in 4 different areas in St. Elizabeth. Corporal Andrew Patterson says these operations are aimed at clamping down on crime and vehicular accidents in the parish.
In that we are conducting several raids, also road safety operations. These operations are aimed at apprehending wanted persons, curtailing the movements of criminal elements. It's also aimed at recovering weapons, mainly firearms, also to ensure some level of order.
He says 2 suspects were taken into custody, including a man who was wanted for sexual assault. A total of 39 motor vehicle tickets were issued.
It has been a success. We have been able to dominate the public space. A number of persons have also expressed their gratitude at seeing the police presence on the road.
A top-level probe is in progress into a major gun and ammunition seizure at Kingston Wharves. 15 high-powered weapons and more than 4,000 rounds of ammunition were found at the facility yesterday. The seizure includes 2 AK-47 rifles, 3 5.56 carbine rifles, 2 5.56 rifles, pistols, 30 assorted rounds of magazines, more than 4,000 assorted rounds, and a ballistic vest were found. In a statement last night, Commissioner of Police George Coelho said the high-powered weapons were destined for the criminal underworld. Commissioner Coelho commended members of the security forces and Jamaica Customs, which collaborated during the operation. The battle for Southwest St. Andrew, the seat previously occupied by Portia Simpson Miller, is heating up. Councillor for the Painland Division Audrey Smith-Facey says she was given the impression that she was being groomed to take over from Mrs. Simpson Miller. Mrs. Smith-Facey said she was surprised when earlier this week Mrs. Simpson Miller endorsed PNP Vice President Angela Brown-Burke. She had this response.
As any other human being, yes, it left me with some questions. I have been with Most Honorable Portia Simpson Miller for over 40 years, as I said before, and working alongside her, being mentored by her. So yes, I would have been a bit bothered, but it's a part of life.
Meanwhile, in reaction to the public criticism of the process, the People's National Party's Executive Committee has decided to schedule a selection conference. PNP General Secretary Julian Robinson said the party made the decision following a special meeting of the Executive Committee yesterday evening.
And the Executive unanimously supported a resolution to the NEC that there be a selection conference in South St. Andrew, which would include Comrades Angela Brown-Burke and Comrade Audrey Smith-Facey, and that selection conference will be held on Sunday, July 30th. This was based on a recommendation from the officers of and the resolution that will go to the NEC this weekend was fully supported by the Executive.
Meanwhile, the PNP has sought to explain how the controversy developed over the selection process. The party explained that on June 19, the General Secretary requested expressions of interest from those who were interested. Responses were received from Audrey Smith-Facey and Carl Blake. However, on Monday, Mrs. Simpson Miller endorsed Angela Brown-Burke. In addition, the Constituency Secretary wrote to the General Secretary advising that based on consultations, the majority of the executive and officers support Mrs. Simpson Miller's choice. The party said it considered the developments and in order to allow all interested persons to contend, it decided to have a selection conference. As the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation continues the cleanup drive in the corporate area, City Inspector Alric Francis is imploring persons who want to start garbage businesses to visit its offices.
And so what we're asking you to do is to come to the KSAMC. Let us talk to see where we can recommend and also facilitate your operation. But we can't facilitate your operation just any and everywhere in the community, on the road and on the sidewalk. So come in and let us see how we can work together to create a safer environment for all.
And the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation is getting tough on business operators who improperly dispose their garbage. The municipal corporation says notices will be issued to businesses in the downtown Kingston commercial district where littering in public spaces has become prevalent. This notice targets operators of businesses who have opted to leave their waste piled up at the front of their stores. Mayor Delroy Williams says the city is spending over $40 million to clean drains. The municipal corporation will be clamping down on persons who litter. Section 46 of the National Solid Waste Management Act makes littering a punishable offense. And it's time now for our Fact or Fiction feature. We ask, is this fact or fiction? The Jamaican Railway was the first railroad outside Europe and North America. And of course, we'll tell you the answer at the end of the sports segment of the newscast. In news overseas, Special Counsel Robert Mueller has asked the White House to preserve all documents relating to the June 2016 meeting at Trump Towers. Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner and Paul Manafort had that meeting with a Russian lawyer. For more, we join the CNN.
Special Counsel Robert Mueller sent a letter to the White House counsel this week asking White House staff to save all documents relating to the June 2016 meeting at Trump Tower with Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, Paul Manafort, and a Russian lawyer. Now, according to a source I spoke with who has seen the letter and read it to me, the request pertains to any subjects discussed in the course of the meeting and also any decisions made regarding recent disclosures about the June 2016 meeting. Now, Mueller's letter clearly connects this request to the larger Russia investigation, and this is what it says. As you are aware, the special counsel's office is investigating the Russian government's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election, including any links or coordination between the Russian government and individuals associated with the campaign of Donald Trump. Information concerning the June 2016 meeting between Donald J. Trump Jr. and Natalia Veselnitskaya is relevant to the investigation. Now, this preservation request includes text messages, emails, notes, voicemails, other communications and documentation related to the June 2016 meeting, as well as communications since then. Now, I should note that requests like this are not uncommon and are often sent in early stages of an investigation to ensure that documents that could be relevant to the investigation and possibly requested in the future aren't destroyed.
Further afield, Palestinian worshippers and Israeli police clashed this morning outside the old city of Jerusalem amid tensions over a decision to bar male worshippers under 50 from entering the area for Friday prayers. More from the CNN.
Just here earlier this morning, there were protests, and George, we're expecting more of those protests today.
To get a sense of that, tell us more, because we're looking at the scene there. You've given us the context, but what is the feeling, the mood right now? What can be expected for the rest of the day?
So there really is rings of security around the old city and around Jerusalem. And just to show you again, you have police right here who are checking people's IDs to go up to Lion's Gate, to go to the Temple Mount, the Noble Sanctuary for prayer. But also down here, you can see there's also more police. There's more these barricades, these barriers, and there's just all over this area. They're checking people's IDs. What we're hearing from the police is they don't want any really large gatherings of people praying, which then usually turns into protests. They want to compartmentalize this day to make sure that they are able to manage it. So that's going to be the real test for police. As for people coming to protest, we're hearing that mosques around Jerusalem are shutting their doors today, encouraging people to come here to pray, to show their support for this ongoing situation.
And in sports, the Commonwealth Games Federation has intervened in the matter involving Jamaican youth swimmers Jessie Marsh and Emily McDonald and the Jamaica Olympic Association. TVJ Sports reported on Wednesday that the swimmers had traveled to the Bahamas for the Commonwealth Youth Games despite being withdrawn by the JOA for failing to attend a mandatory camp. TVJ's Karen Madden has the follow-up.
Matters reportedly came to a head in the Bahamas on Thursday when the swimmers competed in the heats of their events without the JOA's permission. And it came hours before an expected ruling by the Jamaican Supreme Court after their parents had filed an injunction requesting that the JOA readmit them to the squad. But the Commonwealth Games Federation has reportedly issued directives to the Bahamas CYG Organizing Committee advising that Marsh and McDonald were withdrawn by the JOA on July 15. The CGF also advised that the athletes had therefore not signed the entry and eligibility condition form, which would also have been signed by the JOA. It noted that the athletes' names then appeared on heat sheets on July 18 and the athletes competed on July 20. In response, the CGF instructed that Marsh and McDonald are to be removed from all swimming documentation associated with the games. The London-based body reportedly said that includes but is not limited to start sheets, results, event programs, and other reference, which implies that the athletes will be representing Jamaica at the games. The Commonwealth Games Federation also warned that a separate investigation will shortly be launched to determine how the athletes were permitted access to the athlete preparation area and the field of play without accreditation. The parents sought the court's permission to have the JOA readmit them to represent Jamaica at the Games. It is not yet clear if the Supreme Court has ruled on the matter or how this will affect the directive from the CGF. Efforts to reach JOA General Secretary Alan Beckford, who is in the Bahamas, were unsuccessful. Karen Madden, TVJ Sports.
Finally this afternoon, the answer to our fact or fiction feature, and we asked, is this fact or fiction? The Jamaican Railway was the first railroad outside of Europe and North America, and it's a fact. In 1843, a proposal was brought to the House of Assembly in Jamaica to construct a railway line by William Smith and his brother David Smith. The plan to construct the double-track line between Kingston and Spanish Town was favorably received by the House of Assembly. In the same year, the Jamaica Railway Company was incorporated. This new technology was the main factor behind restoring competitiveness to Jamaica's sugar plantation economy. The railroad sharply reduced domestic transportation costs as well as the travel time to the port of Kingston. Produce no longer had to be carried by pack animals. And that's the Midday News. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Do remember to join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the News, Sports and Production teams, good afternoon and have a great weekend.